Hello friends, welcome back to another Value Vintage Cards video. This is Thanksgiving morning as I record this, so happy Thanksgiving. If you're watching this anytime after today, just happy day. Be thankful for what you have. So I wanted to get in here right at the deadline to Hobby President John Mangini's challenge to suggest some ways that we can improve the hobby and also to shout out some channels. So both great ideas and been giving them some thought, so I'm at the deadline, so I'm gonna submit what I have for ideas. No big productions, nothing fancy, just hopefully some things that actually could be possibly implemented if we put enough pressure in the right directions. So the first thing I'm going to say, and I think this is a movement that's happening, I think I'm seeing more and more, especially in the era I collect, we're reducing the value of the grade, and we're realizing grading companies can manipulate things. More and more of us are fine with ungraded items, especially if we can buy them live and not have to trust the online pictures. But I will say, if we're going to rely on that, can we please get some breakdown? If I had that on every single slab, I would feel a whole lot better about what I was getting myself into. If they said it was creased, if they said the size didn't fit, if they said, there was damage on the back, great, just help me out. And give me an explanation. There's times we get things back and, you see, I bought this, it's a 4, it looks like it's 6, I don't know why it's a 4. Tell us, give us some breakdown. Doesn't need to be extensive. Those, 4 categories, 5 categories, that's phenomenal. So that's number one. Second one is to make the online experience better, because I think a lot of us shop in the realm of tough to find. You're not walking into the LCS and picking up a lot of the cards we're looking at. So I would ask for eBay to require 5 pictures minimum. Maybe you set that at a certain price tag. $2 80s card, 2 picks is fine, 1 pick is fine, who cares? But I think maybe once you get like $100 or $200, something like that, require more pictures. Protect both sides of the transaction a little bit more. I'd like to see more registration required. Reduce shill bidding a little bit. I feel a little more comfort when I'm bidding at an auction house, because the registration, you have to give a couple references. They approve you only for so much, so they won't let me go on registered today and bid on a bunch of 52 manels tomorrow. They'd want to actually go through a little bit of an approval process. But other places, eBay, for example, you can shill your way all the way, close your account, you get 2 feedbacks, you're the leading bidder, and, no one ever gets paid, and it just gets ugly and gross. So I think that could be a step, and I don't know that maybe it's enough people sending in with enough feedbacks that maybe they start to listen and say, all right, all these people are telling us this looks like an easy change, maybe we do that. I would like to see all cards either being sent for authentication, not that protects, but it does something, or allow a longer return policy. I think that would be better protection for both sides. If you get a card and you want to send it in for authentication, you're not going to get it back in time to return it. So that can turn into an ugly process. So that would be another change that I would love to see in the hobby. For the most part, I think the hobby is wonderful. I think everything about it is going well. I think all these, is the market crashing, whatever else. Everything's crashing if you look in a little micro example. The stock market can boom and you have a little sub-segment of industries that might be struggling. There's always going to be exceptions. And if you look hard enough, there's problems everywhere. But if you also look wide enough out, you see, for the most part, things are going really, really well. And, we should just be enjoying ourselves. The 5th change that I would recommend, and this is just, I think oddball triggers John. What is oddball? Rick embraces it as a term of endearment, and John says, it almost feels like it's a negative term, and everything's oddball up until 57, and now we have a standard size card, and all the, discs and oversize and postcards and everything else is not acceptable, but that's all there was. So, oddball has a little bit of a negative connotation. You call somebody an oddball, they're probably not going to be real happy with you. And I have a different word that triggers me. I think I accept oddball as a term of endearment at this point. The word that triggers me is lurker. Our community is built on a few that are out, producing content and doing this thing. But unfortunately, that takes us away from time dedicated to learning, studying, and building community. And these folks that we call lurkers are the ones that are really building the community. They're the ones watching more videos than we are. They're the ones reading more than we are, because we're taking time aside to do something like this. Any of us, if we were to give the time that we're doing this back to, watching, learning, reading, would be a little bit more knowledgeable. I know before I started making video content, I was watching pretty regularly, at least a few more videos a week and learning a little bit more. So I would just like that term somehow altered to be, I tried to come up with acronyms. There's just nothing. But something that, a non-video making community member is given a more prestigious term than lurker. If someone's lurking around outside my house, I probably am not happy about that. The term just doesn't strike me as warm and fuzzy and positive as it should be. So that's my fifth change that I would make. That's one we think we can come up with now. That's one we can be actionable on right now. So some of the other ones I'll just work to do better and be more cautious on. But I think lurker we can actually take action on immediately. In terms of shouting out channels, you're right. We do tend to shout out channels that are kind of either newer or about to hit a milestone maybe. But I've got a very small little channel that's only been out here for 8 months. So I'm definitely in that pool of folks that are not super long established. And so when I was learning and as I'm going through, I just jotted down some different categories and some channels that were either influential in the last 8 months or even prior to that I was, in that watching, commenting, learning phase, and just admire the work they do. So first couple, I think, are two of the biggest supporters in the community. And again, disclosure, I feel like sometimes the reason we don't shout channels out is if you miss somebody that you're, friends with, you don't want to ever have hurt feelings. So I tried to very, very much limit this down to just a couple examples from different categories. But I always love seeing the channels that are just supportive and always giving shout outs, always commenting, even though they're far larger channels than the folks they're watching and supporting. John 3D80's Kid always goes through and shouts out new channels and folks to give a watch, and subscribes to support. And Orlando, phenomenal, always just one of the kindest people probably on earth. So, to say within the hobby, obviously, just phenomenal supporter and absolutely mad respect for Orlando and the knowledge he shares. As I've been going through, my buddy Jason, everyday card collector, Josh, Vintage Card Wonderland, Mark over at Dodgers Cards, Doug, who I haven't seen as much from, but Joe Wood collector, and Matt, the card story, actually, as well. Need to see a few more videos there, my friend. But all you folks have been really supportive, and actually people now that have kind of, elevated the friendship with. So beyond the YouTube comments and support. The educators in the community, Rick, obviously Vintage Outlaw Cards is tremendous, Dave, Blue Jacket, and you, Mr. John. Your 3 channels, you're always not just showing out, the big cards and showing off the cool stuff you found, but you're also explaining what it is, where it came from, what makes that unique or interesting, and sharing education. That's really, really important for the entire community. Scott, Stukes Cards, Peter B, same thing. They're active, amazing supporters. They are a wealth of information. They're always sharing stories about either unique items or players, both of which I find really, really interesting and fun. Joe, Billy, and Sammy, all kind of at different phases, but tremendous supporters and amazing, friends and folks that have been helpful along the journey, and folks that keep it fun. So, people that are doing shows. So I think like Chris and Mike doing the Showcase Showdown. Chris from Missouri and Baseball Collector Mike. I think those two just going back and forth, that's always a, fun recurring thing. So, cardboard and cold ones, that's really kind of what inspired us to get into something like the Mount Rushmore show that we're doing. It's a lot of fun to have something recurring, to have a theme, to have something you can come back to and, kind of build an idea around and invite in guests and do all the fun stuff and just make it fun. That's really what the hobby's all about. So congratulations on the hobby presidency. My suggestions are things that all of us can do or push towards. Let's change that word lurker. Please comment something that you think would be useful. I'm open to a term. And I'm wishing everybody a very, very happy Thanksgiving and a very good holiday season as we wrap up the year. So see y'all soon. Congrats again, John. Talk soon.